Hello and welcome back to the Roll the Credits podcast with me, Liam, and the film fisherman that is Rob. How you doing, Rob?
Not too bad, not too bad. Looking forward to discussing this wild and crazy film that we've watched in recent times.
I feel like that is an accurate description of the film. Yeah. What film have you caught for me today?
Today's topic of discussion is Hard Boiled from I think 1991 is when it came out. It's directed by John Woo. It's Hong Kong cinema. I would say Hong Kong cinema at its finest, really, for action, definitely. Um, One that not really talked about by a lot of people, but is iconic and influenced so many things. It's a strange one.
Oh yes, yes. I can like watching this film. It was just a continuous just thoughts pop into my head of, oh my god, that reminds me of this. That reminds me of this. That reminds me of this. Then I think that, and you think, oh, that's like in that film. That's like in that film. Then you realise, oh no, wait, they all copied this film. But yeah, um, yeah. I'd not even heard of this film, and watching it, you can see the massive impact that it's had going, not even just in film forwards, but in video games as well.
Yeah, it's like I say, no one really talks about it that much, but it's influenced so many things over the years. But give us your quick like summary review, whatever we call it. Tell me
Yeah,
how you feel.
Liam's something review short, one sentence, free word, whatever he feels like reviewed. It's literally just a one-word review for this, and it's just carnage. I don't think
Carnage.
there's any other word that can summarize this film other than carnage. And maybe when I watch more of these John Woo films and see some of the films from the other end of the side, not the police officer side, it'll just they're all fucking carnage. I don't know. This is the first one I've seen, but yeah, it was absolute carnage. There's just no other way to describe it.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. I mean, for me, like, I would just say, if you've ever wanted to watch a film where, like, the story is sort of like, it's there, but, like, there's not a whole lot of meat to the story, it just sort of exists to get you from point A to B, and just, like, fucking mental action scenes where, like,
Yeah.
there's no real logic to what is going on in a lot of the scenes, but it's just really awesome to watch.
Yeah, that's like partly like the one thing that, yeah, the one part I struggled with the film. I guess I'm getting into, what I didn't like about the film earlier here. It's like so many things is just so far fetched, or like not just like you can't imagine that the Hong Kong Police Department would be doing that or acting in that way. Or it seems so far fetched. It pulled me out the film for a second, like, well, that's never going to happen. But yeah, you understand that everything in this film is just feeding the action.
It's
That's all that
basically
matters.
it's an Asian Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Really, that is what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Like, I would say Chow Yun Fat is like, Mr. Action. It's kind of like anything that he does in this film, you just have to accept that this would never happen in real life, but it's just really cool to watch.
yeah. I feel like I sort of had to get to the same understanding I had to learn to get when I watched Hero. Like it's an exaggerated reality, and it's just there to create an incredible action scene,
Yeah,
sequence
definitely.
film, and that it does. Because I know there's a lot of films out there, and that's probably a statement I shouldn't make, but I just feel like for just pure action alone, it maybe if not is one of the best or the
Absolutely, absolutely. And
that
even
this
if
is
it's,
the kind of film. God,
I was gonna say, even if it's not the best, it's the trendsetter. It's the foundation that everything else built on.
yeah. Even if it lacks in other places, it's like that when you get to Sunday and you got work the day, and I don't know if you ever get the Sundays where you just sort of I feel like weird and empty, and nothing seems to interest me. I don't want to do anything. And it's just like, oh, this day is just a waste of a day. This is the film I watch on that day. You just want absolute mental carnage. It's yeah, incredible. Some of the best action, some ridiculous action, and some incredibly well thought out, like cinematic choreography action, and then the rest is just carnage. Like it's every part of action.
Yeah, I think that just about covers everything, to be fair.
Yeah, all right, end of the podcast. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, in terms of like how well you can summarize the film, I think we've done a good job there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, there's a story. Yeah, there's the bad guys.
It's your
there's an
box
undercover
standard,
cop and-
yeah, it's your box standard
Yeah.
police story.
Yeah, exactly. But the big thing I think is just how it's influenced the rest of the world and cinema and video games.
Absolutely. So like, how would we say it's influenced Western like culture when it comes to action? Like, can you pinpoint anything like that you think is like top of the list of what you would say it's influenced?
100%. I mean, the first one I thought of, like, it's not the main one. It's just obviously influenced. But the first thing is because I had it on and I was waiting for Rob for ages for it to start. And at the start, it's playing scenes on the play movie screen. And there's the one where he dives onto the bed and he's shooting and he's rolling along. And there's a scene like that in Rush Hour 3 because I love Rush Hour. So obviously it's first thing. I was like, oh, that's like Rush Hour 3. Oh, wait a minute, Rush Hour 3 is like this. I feel like that was almost a direct, purposeful reference to this film after seeing that. But really, like the big, huge one, and I can't see how anyone could say this isn't probably the first thing you should think of is Max Payne. The video games of Max Payne, I feel like they are.
Oh yeah.
I feel like they wouldn't exist without this film. Not that it just influenced them; that it wouldn't even come to have been made. The concept of it wouldn't have been made without this film.
Yeah, definitely. Like the whole like bullet time and like the whole just acrobatic shooting like that. Like, because he flies all over the fucking place in Hard Boiled. Like, he's certainly not a stationary figure.
But even though the action is carnage, I feel like it makes really good use of when it does do the slow mo bits, like impactful moments, especially like the absolute mental fast paced carnage that exists. The slow mo
definitely.
really, what's the word? Captivates a moment or a point or something. The slow mo bits are so well put in.
It serves to like complement what's on the screen, sort of.
Yeah, and gives it that feel and cinematic view, and the exact same feel I got when I played Max Payne for the first time. Yeah, they were really well done, especially the film that is just mental carnage to somehow get those slow-mo moments. They just felt impactful.
I feel like when I watch this film and I think of like, obviously prior to this coming out, obviously you'd had like the Arnie like era in the 80s where like, but I feel like whereas Arnie films are kind of like pure fantasy, there is like a degree of sort of like realistic approach to this. Like, even though like the things that are happening are like crazy, like, but like when you're talking about like Arnie taking on like 100, 150 people and not taking a scratch of a bullet or whatever. Like when they're in the hospital at the end of Hard Boiled, like, there is consequences, like what's his name shoots the cop and he's like, it's fucking part of the job, mate, you know what I mean? It's just great.
Well, no, that's I disagree. That's not realistic. That's one of the things that annoyed me and kept pulling me out. Is like there was such a disregard for their fellow officers' lives from that first scene in the cafe.
But I don't know.
Loads of officers died in this fight. Anyway, next up,
But
They just didn't give a shit.
but you and I don't know whether that is the attitude that is in the police force because we've never been in the police force.
No, I just refuse to believe, especially in British-ruled Hong Kong, that the police force was that mental and crazy where they had no disregard for any of their officers' lives. Like, they would just send them over the top of the trench. Like the Russians in World War, where they had guys up behind each other. When the first guy drops, you pick up the gun and you run. Like, that's mental. There's no way that existed.
I
And
don't know.
they just,
I don't feel I'm in a position where I can say whether it did or not.
I just can't see how. You say it as if like, well, it could have been that crazy. No way it could have been that crazy. I refuse. Seamus is from Hong Kong. I'm gonna have to speak to him.
Just because he's from, yeah, but he wasn't in Hong Kong in 1991, was he?
What are you talking about? He literally goes to Hong Kong every year. His mum's from Hong Kong. His family are all from Hong Kong. He can speak to his mum. He'll have some idea.
Right,
won't he?
so we're really going to go in depth on this and try and nail down the culture of Hong Kong.
Yeah. Forget the podcast. This is a deep dive. It's a real world essay into the Hong Kong Police Department from 1990 to now. Oh man, I don't know. It just seemed too mental. And like when they're lowering the babies out the window.
I mean that was a bit mental. Like, that is
they've
mental.
literally just had rockets shooting out the windows towards that area, non-stop shooting and explosions and cars blowing up. And they're like, you know what? I reckon it's safe to lower the babies out right now. And it's done in the most ridiculous way. And even when they're taking one baby out and they're all getting shot as the baby goes out, and even an officer dies on the rope that's carrying the baby down, they still continue to take more babies out.
The whole baby thing is great though, especially when he's carrying the baby around while he's shooting everyone.
Oh my god. Yeah. And then he's literally pulled off the most insane action, killing loads of people, and then about 3/4 of the way through, only then decides, I should cover up the baby's eyes now. It shouldn't see this. It's a bit late for that now, mate. Like, it's done. And then after like 10 seconds of the action restarted again, the baby see everything. Like, oh man, I would love to know. I think they should make a sequel to this film where it follows that baby as an adult. I don't know. I feel like that's got to have impacted that baby in some way. It's got to have become either a crazy ass cop or a mental ass serial killer. One of the two. It could be either path, but I want to see that because yeah, that was mental. But again, it made for really good action.
Absolutely. So is there any other things you can think of that it influenced? Like,
clearly the Matrix.
Matrix.
I feel like, yeah, with the slow mo and especially with the slow, similar to Max Payne. I feel like there's a lot of.
I can see what you're talking about because like Matrix is all about fucking gunfights
and the sort of fantasy, unrealistic shooting. Like it's taken to a much bigger level in the Matrix, obviously, but I feel like. Yeah, like Hero was fantasy in the way the combat happened. I feel like Hard Boiled was a. Oh, what did we watch? We watched Flying Daggers. We didn't even watch Hero, did we?
No, I haven't watched Hero yet.
Oh, mixing up the titles. Yeah, Flying Daggers. Excuse me. Yeah, I feel like Hard Boiled was a bit like that, where some of the action was over the top, a bit unrealistic. It's sort of a little bit fantastical in that way. I feel like there's inspiration there for the Matrix as well, where the crazy ass combat, slow mo, and all of that jazz.
Yeah,
I feel
definitely
influenced that. But what do you think? Have you got any others?
I think John Wick certainly takes his cues from this kind of film. Like maybe not like style specifically, but the whole like what they call gun fu, where like it's just crazy gunfights where like it's all about style, maybe style over substance sort of thing. As John Wick's all about like style, like and getting the right shot, like you say, choreography. Like John Wick's all about that. And I think like they without this maybe not just this film, but this style of film, there would never be a John Wick without these kind of films.
Definitely not in the way that it is. I agree. John Wick is sort of the modern day version of these types of films. I
Oh
think.
yeah, definitely.
And,
John Wick is more of it's sort of, whereas this is all about pure carnage and just like things blowing up everywhere. Like
it's a bit more
John
artistic in John Wick.
John Wick sort of dances to a beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's very much like it's choreographed to a finer degree.
yeah. It's
Whereas
almost like a dance.
yeah, where I feel like
Yeah.
John Woo with Hard Boiled just sort of like, right, so we've got a couple of explosions gonna go off. You've got like endless amount of bullets. Right, we're gonna shoot in 3, 2, 1, go. Just fucking go nuts.
Yeah, so you not do you. We're just gonna try and capture it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But yeah, but then on the other side of that, and what I really liked and how I feel it differs to the modern film and John Wick especially, is it's so choreographed and cut and cut and cut and cut, and there's a lot of cuts and actions with cutscenes and hard boiled. But then you got the sequence where, and you told me when it was happening, like the bit where the two of them are going over the floor of the hospital, and then they go up
Oh,
to the
the
next floor,
long
and it's all
take, yeah,
shot in one take.
for
And
a while that
I,
was the longest one that had ever been done. I think it's probably been outdone now. I think but at the time
I'd
it was
like
the
to see
longest.
what's tried to outdo it, because that was awesome. It was incredible to watch. It was like a breathing space as well, but it was still full of action, and it was just so well done. It felt
Well, I
like a
think
video game. I felt like, because the way the camera followed them from behind as well,
yeah,
it felt
yeah.
like I was like playing House of the Dead or something, where you're
If
moving through the
you
level and shooting everything up. It was
if
so good.
you're talking specifically about like the longest long take, I'm pretty sure 1917 is all one long take, or like
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's filmed like or cut in a way that it all looks like it's one take. But if I think
Yeah.
like if you're talking about like a long take in terms of like pure action, there's probably a list of like decent ones. Um, I know like maybe not long take, but there's a film called Hardcore Henry, which you will never have
I haven't
seen.
seen that. No, I have seen the trailers, and because it's very video game like,
Yeah, because
and
it's
I'm
all
very
filmed in
much in that
first
video game
person.
sphere. Yeah, I saw a lot of media on it, but I've not watched it yet. I do want to watch it.
Yeah, well, it is quite good. Like, obviously not like an amazing film, but for what it
Yeah,
does,
yeah.
it's good. But yeah, the long take, like I say, for a long time it was the standout one, and it is very well done.
Well, and even if there's others, I'd like to see some others. I feel like we could just have a whole episode of just ranking
Yeah, just go through
long
long
takes,
takes.
because
Yeah,
I'd like to see one that tops that. Like, it was so good, and it was
yeah,
like, and even its place in the film, it was like a breather in the carnage, but was still so much action, and the way the camera followed them around, it felt like, like a news report. Like
yeah,
Ross
yeah.
Kemp on the
Yeah.
war in Iraq, and he's following them around and watching them. And
You're
it
all
felt
right, though. It
like
is a bit
that.
like House of the Dead because they pop up and he's got the shotgun. It's
Yeah,
like bang, bang,
yeah,
bang.
and then they cross over, and
Yeah.
it really made me want to play House of the Dead. No, I
Yeah.
loved that scene. It was so good. And
See,
again, it
for
just had like all types of action in that film. It was so good.
what I like about this as well, this film, is there's no like there's the film starts and throws you into a fucking gunfight pretty much instantly. Like you start
Oh,
off in the tea house where you were like, why the fuck are they shooting with all the birds?
But
And
not I just want to say those birds got demolished. It's not even clear lack of concern for civilian life and police officer lives in the way they decided to just to go for it. But those birds got battered to shit. That was horrid. Those poor birds.
but
I
like
was like, fuck the police and civilians.
the film literally starts off, but you get a bit of jazz music, and
Yeah.
then
Oh, yes. That gave me Cowboy Bebop vibes as well. It was
yeah,
so good. I
absolutely.
love Cowboy Bebop. And yeah, the soundtrack of the jazz. Oh, that vibe. It hit a
Yeah.
nostalgic spot in me.
Straight away you get a bit of jazz, get like a bit of an introduction to the character, then straight away in like some tense like police stakeout in like a tea house birdhouse thing, and then within about 5 minutes that's it, it's popped off, like fucking people are dying left and right.
Well, I remember the bit on the stairs where like they all go down the stairs, it's mental and all these
And
videos.
he's
Like,
just
then
like
they like go
shooting
back up the
people.
stairs, and it's
Yeah.
like, what is going on? Why? Are you... Yeah, and he's just needlessly shooting all these civilians for no reason. There was like nothing to gain from it. It didn't slow down the cops. If anything, it just slowed him down and made him
Yeah.
have less arguments to try and get
but,
away with this
but then,
shit.
but
It
then,
was
but
just so
then,
needless.
but then we get the iconic like back arch slide down the stairs, shooting everyone. You know,
Yeah.
that sort of
was
introduces
so
you to how like
Matrixy,
mental it's gonna
Max
be.
Payne-y. Yeah, it was so funny. Oh, I laughed a lot in this film, and I think I laughed a lot in this film at bits I weren't meant to laugh at, but there was also a lot of like comedic relief throughout the film as well.
Yeah.
The interaction with him and his ex-girlfriend, I guess it is.
Yeah,
That sort of is, and yeah, there's a lot of good little bits of comedy, and it was sort of like it's very cheesy comedy. But
Oh
I
yeah,
think because the
it's
film was
quite
such mental
yeah.
carnage, it's just a little bit of relief. Maybe too cheesy at times, but it was definitely a nice addition. Like, especially at the end after that mentalness, and then the baby just pees on him, and it's just like I want to be in the room where they wrote down and like scripted it and was planning how they were going to film it and all. And oh, should we have the baby piss on them now? Yeah, sure. And it's just like why? But it's yeah, I don't know.
What I
It was
like about this film as
so
well,
cheesy, but
like there is the cheesiness element to it, but I also like how they show that like obviously he's the guy's undercover, who you don't actually know. Well, you kind of like you get an idea that
yeah,
something's going on with him, but you sort of see from his side just how like tough being undercover is, because you know he has a
yeah,
lot of respect for the old man, but then he has to kill him to sort of get further in with Johnny,
yeah.
and like you see how tough it is, and then obviously at the end he gets to come out like and he's just relaxing on the boat, and you know like you see a different side of it among all the carnage. I think it does that quite
No,
well.
yeah, I think it did do that well, but then again, you know, when he ends up killing the old man, and then then just raise down all the other guys, and then oh, here we go again. It's mental, and it just like I don't know, but it did do that well, like the difficulty of that, and that I was finding that difficult in the film because I watched it, especially my first time viewing. I had to watch it subbed. Rob watched it dubbed this time, and I was like thinking throughout the film. Have I missed something here? I feel like I've missed something. And then when I've clicked, and when I finally clicked that he was undercover before the reveal, but I sort of clicked he's an undercover cop, it's like, was I meant to know that already? That already told to me? I don't know, because I felt I couldn't tell if I missed it. But
No,
yeah,
so it doesn't outrightly tell you that he's undercover or anything like that. But I feel like if you when you watch it a second time, you probably would think to yourself like,
yeah.
there's an unusual amount of screen time given to this character outside of just being a villain that would probably make you think like there's
Yeah.
something more going on.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, that's when I was watching. I was like, because I'm watching this subbed and I've got to be paying more attention. I don't know if I'm like, missing other, you know, some bits I'm just missing, but then that made it clear, obviously afterwards.
And another thing that I really like about this film, and it's something that probably like not many people would probably say they appreciate, like or take notice of, but I think the the music in this film, like the instrumentals, like building up to the action and all
Yeah,
that, it's even though like it's sort of like it's not the most expansive soundtrack, like the actual like bits that are in it,
just as a
like
vibe.
get you really into like it. You like they're like little like stingers before the action builds up, where like keep repeating itself, and you think like it's gonna pop off now, it's gonna pop off, and then bang, like someone will die, or there'll be an explosion, and then it really like expands into like a massive like chorus of like drums, fucking guitars, everything going off, and you're like really into the action at that point. I love it.
Yeah, it fits the film so well, and it's done really well, definitely. Yeah, and especially at the start, I was just as soon as I got the Cowboy Bebop nostalgia hitting me, it was just and then then I realised that's another clearly had an influence.
Yeah.
Another thing it clearly had an influence on. It's got an influence on everything so much.
Like I say, it's such a strange thing because like I say, you've never heard of it, and no
No.
one really, outside of like people like me who sort of go out of their way to like find films like this that are like, you know, underrated but also rated at the same time. Like no one really talks about this film, but you can see the influence it's had on so much, and I feel like it probably deserves more appreciation than it does get.
Yeah, no, definitely. The fact that I've not even like, there's a lot of these films that we're watching, and you show me, it's like I know of that film. It's got a big name. Like, there's a lot of talk about this film. This one, not a clue. You just said hard boiled, and all I can think of is eggs. And then I see the picture, and he's just standing on the front cover of a shotgun and a baby. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But no, it's
And that's
fucking
why
brilliant.
I specifically went out of my way to make sure that you had the best available version of this film, because I know that when you watched it, you would develop an appreciation for it, because it's so it just is really well done.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely want to watch his other films now, and we'll definitely be doing that
Yeah, definitely. I
as we
mean,
continue this
Nicolas Cage is
podcast.
in one of them, in
I was going to say, like, not
Face
only do I
Off.
want to see his other films like this, but I'd like to see, John Woo attempting the sort of more Western
I mean,
film with Face
Face
Off.
Off is absolutely mental, and then Mission Impossible 2 is obviously like where there was a bit of studio interference, but you can still tell that like that's very much
Yeah.
a gun fu film. And then obviously there's The Killer, which I have from the same people that made this version of Hard Boiled that you've got.
Yeah.
And that's the one I told you about, where it's about like Chow Yun-fat plays the assassin that accidentally
Hmm.
blinds the woman, and then he's trying to like pay for
Oh,
a
yeah.
surge. Yeah, it's like a tragic
Yeah.
love story type thing. It's very good though. The ones that I haven't seen and that I would like to get at some point is it's called A Better Tomorrow, and those are like his
Hmm.
Yakuza ones that he made before Hard Boiled, which is where there's like a trilogy of them. There's a couple more that have come out in recent times, but I believe Chow Yun-fat's in the trilogy of them,
Right.
and those are like really well regarded, but I've never seen them, so I'd like to give them a go at some point.
Yeah, we definitely need to get more of these films on the list. I'd like to see maybe two or three at least before we go to the Face Off film, just so I can sort of see
Yeah.
that approach when he tries a Western film. The same as when we went from House of Flying
Yeah.
Daggers. I want to see Hero. I want to see what's the other one that's massive,
Crouching
and that I've
Tiger.
got Crouching Tiger, and then there was the one I remember we spoke about. I thought,
Shadow,
I'd like
yeah.
to see how it transitions. So yeah, definitely.
So,
And I'd love I'd love that Face Off as well. He's got like two iconic actors in it as well,
oh
like
yeah,
Travolta and
yeah,
Cage.
and it
He
really
couldn't
is
be
like some iconic performances in that.
more iconic. So I feel like for the carnage that I've just seen, he's got two real good actors to fulfill that carnage.
Yeah.
Like Cage is just that unique sort of weirdness, but sort of I don't know. It's hard.
Travolta's got
You
like
can't
that sort of
explain
like
Cage. And
Travolta's
then
got like a
Travolta,
sinister
you just
charm
think,
to him.
yeah, and you think like obviously everyone you think of Pulp Fiction. It's just like that sort of performance. Like, I feel like I could really enjoy that film. So
That's
I do look forward to it.
Face Off is another film that like you have to be in the mindset that like it's pure just like
Action.
mental fatness fantasy. Like the story's like mental as fuck, so like you've got to go into it knowing that that's the case.
Yeah, well, I think after seeing this and a few of his others, it'll be expected that this is just about the action. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
So what we've touched upon it a little bit, but like tell me what you didn't appreciate so much about the film.
Yeah, I mentioned some of the things just took getting used to. The same it did with fucking hell, not Crouching Tiger, the other one. God, I'm getting them all mixed up now.
House of Flying Daggers.
Yeah, House of Flying Daggers. I just sort of had to get used to slightly, because it doesn't. The film doesn't obviously portray that this is set in a more of a fantasy. Like the action and the combat is very much more a bit fantasy-ish and unrealistic. So once I got my head around that, you just get on with it. But the one thing that did stand out to me, and I think it made it worse, is when we first started playing the film, I had an issue where it kept skipping and like it got stuck and it was playing but the screen paused. I was like, oh no, is it crashed? Have I something wrong with my disc? And then we get into the film, there's weird cuts, like that massive action, and it gets in, and then it's just like this sudden, quick, like unexperienced YouTuber cut, and it just felt so weird. It's just completely pulled me out of the film. I remember when we were talking about the cafe scene, and it's a big fight, and he goes over the table, and he gets covered in what I think is flour or was it drugs? I don't know. I don't remember now. But he's completely like white, like a ghost. It's like the villain has reached his end and he's being haunted by his past and everything he's done has come to this end, and it's like a ghost that shoots him in the head, and then it just suddenly just quit, and I was like, wait, did my disc glitch or was that the actual cut? Like it just felt weird. I still remember saying to you, wait, did I miss something or did my film just skip ahead? I feel like there was something I missed there that should have been.
Yeah, see, I see what you mean when you say it, but I do wonder to myself, like, is maybe that because in the past, like, 30 years, like, that kind of, like, transition and cuts and all that, it's become better and, like, more developed over time, whereas it was probably a little bit more, it was a little bit more raw back then. And obviously,
but
like,
then it's only
not
1991 or whatever. I've seen a lot older films that I didn't have that feeling. Like I don't feel like that's.
I mean,
That is an excuse.
I was gonna say though, like, obviously some directors are better at doing things than others, so that could be it. But
Yeah, I just feel like I don't know. I feel like there probably was a bit more. They decided to cut it out, and
it's possible. I mean,
those moments
there
felt
are
weird.
like there are several like multiple different versions of this film. Like, I think if you
All
look on
right.
the if you look on the back of your Blu-ray, I think there's like one or two different versions that are included or something like that. I can't remember. I'd have to have a look. But again, it's probably the cutting process, and obviously Asian cinema was a little bit more raw back then, so they probably didn't
Yeah, I
really think
guess so.
about. They probably didn't
It
care
happened
as
like
much.
at least 4 or 5 times in the film where I just thought my first thought is like a panic of oh my disc has skipped ahead, and then I realised it hasn't, and
I'll be
it's just
honest.
felt weird.
I've watched the film a million times before I watched it with you, and I've never noticed it before. I never really been that bothered. So
Yeah,
you pick up on
just
things that just never occurred to me.
because it pulls me out of the immersion. Like I get absorbed in what I'm watching, and that's why I feel like it's with these films having to get used to the not realisticness of it. Um, it takes me a while to get my head around it with my autistic logical brain. But yeah, those cuts. I think it mainly stood out more because I had the issue where I did have it pause but keep playing. So like because I did have a genuine disc issue,
Yeah,
it probably
I think
stood out
that
more
yeah,
because I had the
yeah,
panic that it happened again.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that probably made it worse. But I don't know. Yeah, it just pulls me out for a second of the issue that I was in. But yeah, that and then just like the Hong Kong Police Department just pretty much throwing their officers in as if they're going over the top, or in the World Wars, just like we've got loads of cops. Like they're bringing them out like the orcs in Lord of the Rings. They're just growing them,
I mean,
tearing off the
to
weird
be
stuff
fair,
about them, and
there
sending them
are
in.
like there are loads of films like in the 80s that have like a similar vibe to that in
Yeah,
Western films. To be fair, I think it's just part of the time where it was just a bit more fantastical.
yeah. It just pulls me out because then I'm thinking about that in my head instead of the great action that's happening in front of me. And then there's a couple of action bits where I don't know if it's put in there purposely for a comedic reason, just to give you a bit of the intense carnage that's going on, or it is just weird. Like the guy when they're in the warehouse and as they first go in and they're shooting the place up, and then for some weird reason on his motorbike decides to go up a ramp into the back of a container to run a guy over and smash into the boxes. It was just like, why would that be a logical decision in any way? It was just weird
I see.
to watch.
I think
It
those
just
are
felt so
just.
silly. I thought,
I think those are
I
just
don't know if that
scenes
was
added in
purpose
just
comedy.
just to look cool. To be fair.
But it didn't look cool because it achieved nothing. If anything, it made
I mean,
him more vulnerable
I
and
thought
more
it was
likely
quite.
to be
I thought it
shot.
was quite cool to watch. To be fair, because he just
If he
flies
went
up on the
in,
ramp.
ran him over, came out the other side, and kept on shooting, yeah, I agree with you. But he just went in, ran him over, the boxes fell off. If
But
anything, it
I
just makes
also
you
think like.
vulnerable when in trouble.
I also
But
think if you
I
think
couldn't
about
tell if
like.
it's past comedy
Yeah, but
or
if you
weird.
think about like when you watch any sort of film like this, even like Western films, where you have like comical, like not comical as in comedy, but like comical as in comic book
Yeah.
villains that just do like ridiculous things because they think they're on top of the world, and that's the kind of shit that you would see happen where they would just kill someone in that way just because they think it's funny, like that. But because that stuff does happen in like films like this where it's just like a because Johnny in this is like a literal like he is the kind of like comic villain that you see in a lot of these action type films.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense it's just normal to me.
I don't know. It's just weird because if anything, it just made him more vulnerable, more likely to die. But I don't know. But then I think of like, and this is like the most Arnie thing ever. It's impossible to watch this bit without thinking it's just Arnie. Is when he first swings down into the warehouse, and there's
Yeah,
so many troops there, so many of the triads sitting there, and he just swings in and starts shooting, and it's like, there's no way he's not dead in 5 seconds. Like, even if he had 1,000
But
stormtroopers
again,
in
this
there,
is you just
he is
thinking
going to
logical.
die.
This is
But
you watching
yeah,
it,
this
having
I
to have a
know,
reason for
but that's
things.
what I mean. But it just pulls me out a little bit. When I get my head past it, I can enjoy the action for the mentalness it is. But it's just like, you're dead, mate, in 10 seconds in reality. Oh, and the other bit where he's sitting outside listening to the conversation, and he's like right next to it, ready to go, and then he starts reloading the shotgun. And I'm like, why haven't you loaded the shotgun before you got there in the car? Why it's now the moment you're reloading the shotgun? Like, it's not even reloading, it's the original load. And all I can think about is, I know the shot is just trying to look cool with him with the shotgun and loading it. But in all reality, why isn't it already loaded? And why have you waited to this moment
But
to
again,
do it?
if you're
It
trying to
just,
think
it hurts
logical
my
about
brain.
these
And I
sort of
know it's
things, like
stupid
it's
little
just
things, and I know it's more of a personal thing with the way my brain works, but it just makes me laugh. It's just, I don't know. Those little things pull me out the reality. But luckily, it's not a film that's trying to base itself in reality, so you can just appreciate it for what it is. But yeah, they're just the little bits. Yeah, I feel like I have to say negatives for everything I watch. No film is perfect. And yeah, those little problems are the things that pull me out of the immersion for a few seconds. What about you, though, Rob?
so. Yeah, for me, I don't really know if there is anything that I could outwardly say that I dislike about the film. Like, there's nothing that really comes to mind that I think like, yeah, uh, that's something that I would probably change because I can't really think of anything. Um,
Well, would you rate this film a 10 out of 10 film?
I would never give anything a 10 out of 10 because things can always be improved upon. But
So what could be improved then?
well, that's the thing. Like,
I feel like you always got to have a criticism. Not everything. Nothing's
I,
perfect.
I know, but I'm really struggling to think of something at the moment. Like, I know it's not a perfect film, but I also like I can't think of something that I could say would
hmm
would make the film better. You know, we can talk about the
Yeah.
cuts and the transitions and stuff like that, but I don't think that
I
would
mean, do you
change.
agree with those?
I think you could add modern sensibilities to like those sort of things, but I
You
don't
say
think
modern though, but
But I
got the
don't.
Italian Job from 1969,
Yeah,
and it
but
wasn't weird
again,
cuts
what I'm
like that.
saying is I don't think stuff like that negatively impacts the film or makes the film better. Like
No, I just
that
think
sort
it
of stuff doesn't.
pulls you out of immersion for a second
Well, it
where
doesn't.
you
It doesn't
didn't
for
need
me
it.
though. It absolutely like has
It's
no
less a
impact
problem
on
with
me.
a film and more of a problem with the filmmaking, to be fair. But
I
yeah,
see. I don't
no,
know. Like, until you mention it, like I've watched this film for like 20 years, and it just doesn't. That has no bearing
yeah,
on me at all. So
yeah.
like, it's all to me. I can't
But again,
say.
like I'm not bringing it up to say it's a bad film. I'm bringing it up. It's just I feel like every film I should give good, the bad, and
Yeah, but this is what I'm
I
saying is
still
that
think though after watching it, I still think as an action film, it may be, if not one of the best action for pure action films, the best ever,
I think
or it's up
obviously
there with the
it's a
John
little bit
Wicks and
raw in how it's filmed and how it's like put together.
I think that
But
adds to it. It makes it feel
yeah, that's what I'm
more
saying. Like it gives it a
the
charm, and
atmosphere of it.
so while things like that could probably like the transitions and stuff could probably be improved upon, I think like the film as it is, just it's fine as it is. There's nothing really I've got an issue with.
I don't mean like all the transitions. I just mean like those specific four could be improved. I wouldn't want to change all the transitions to be like a modern flowing PowerPoint presentation. I just think those four were just
I know.
odd and jerky.
I'm just saying. For me, I can't really say that like I can't say if something would make the film better for me or like
Yeah.
I don't know. When you're asking me something that I don't like, there's not really anything I don't like about the film. Like it's hard for me to really nail it down. Like I don't know.
No.
Most films, I can sort of I can think of something, but I struggle with this one, to be fair.
So that's a good sign, really.
Yeah, I mean,
It's genuine because the things I bring up are film things, or maybe it's just the way my brain works. And other than that, I do think it is one of the best action films.
there's a
out
reason why I spent like fucking $30 making sure that you had the best one.
there.
Like, because for me, it is just one of the most perfect action films I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because when I watch
it
it gives me everything that I want from an action film. When I watch it, I don't come away from it and think like there are things that could have been like so. For example, it is a totally different genre of film, but recently, like earlier in the year, Cocaine Bear came out of the cinema, right? And the trailers for Cocaine Bear made it seem like an absolutely mental film. So I went to see it, and I came out of that film and I thought like that didn't go anywhere near as mental as they should have done, considering the concept of the film they were making. Like it was very tame, and like you could say the same for like an action film. There are plenty of action films
I agree.
that I've watched where I'm like, it was okay, but there wasn't really anywhere near as much action as I thought there would be. Whereas like I watched this and it's just, I'm happy, I'm competent.
It's delivered on what it's promised.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree. And yeah, I just like to press it. Like when I know you love a film, I just like pressing you to try and pull something out of you, something.
No, I like that
I
you
can
do
see
that.
why that you can't. Like, I genuinely can see why you can't, and that's why I was sort of more intrigued to do it to see if there was something that you.
Like
could
I say,
but...
like you could add like smoother transitions and maybe like the refine the story a little bit maybe, but I feel like the cheesiness and the whole like it adds to the whole package, like because the story is sort of like cheesy, the acting like with the romance with like she kind of like she bullies him but she loves him. It's a bit cheesy. It's a bit classic, like classic film, like like police film, renegade cop goes out of his way, like the captain like is like, why are you fucking causing me all these issues? Why can't you just play by the rules? The cop's like, fuck it, you're not getting the job done fast enough. I'm gonna do it my way, get the job done. Like it's all the stuff that you would expect to be in this kind of film, but the action just elevates it.
Now, if it was trying to sell itself as a complete package film where the story and the romantic relationship and everything was meant to be top notch, then it doesn't deliver. But I don't think it is trying that. It's just we are making a fucking incredible action film, and that's what they do.
We're making an incredible action film with your standard framework of renegade detective story, which like is commonplace across all different kinds of cultures, and we're just going to take that in a similar way how Jackie Chan has his police story films. I watched the first one of those
which we
the
need
other
to
day.
watch.
Yeah, I watched the first one a couple of days ago, and that's basically like that is the kung fu karate version of Hard Boiled, really. So
I'm definitely looking forward to getting onto those as well.
So yeah,
That'll be good.
That's my stance on it. There's nothing that I would want to change about the film because everything about the way the film is what makes me love the film.
Fair enough. Well, there you go, folks. If you decided not to watch this film before you listen to this podcast, please do, because even if we spoiled bits for it, it doesn't matter. Like just the action. It's just like watching. It's like going to a fireworks display. It's just you're in awe of it.
At times, it literally is with the amount of explosions.
The London Council decided for the fireworks show at midnight, they were just going to show that film and project it somehow over the top of London. I don't think people would be disappointed. I
certainly wouldn't be.
Now we're down to putting their input in.
Yeah, I think if we wrap this up, my conclusion, it fully deserves to be in the conversation of like top 10 action films. If not for anything other than the amount of influence it's clearly had on everything else that's come after it.
I reckon there's so much out there that's probably is inspired by the film, and they don't even know they have because they're inspired by the things that this has inspired. It's going to have a never-ending legacy, this film, and no, I'm so glad you showed it to me.
My pleasure, as always. I enjoy because I like giving my enjoyment out of any of this stuff is that hoping that you can see the things that I see in the films that I show you, and so far it's been a pretty positive success.
Oh yeah, even if like overall I don't think the film's incredible, like The Lost Boys. Like overall I don't think it's an incredible film, but it has its place and it has its moment in which I would want to watch it and enjoy it, and it's enjoyable. But like, there's no film that I've watched and it's like, this is pure shit. I'm sure we'll get to those.
Those will come.
And they will come, and it'll be enjoyable. And I look forward to switching the formula around on you for a bit and showing you a couple of films, the few tiny amount of films that you haven't seen that I have. So yeah, plenty to come.
So on that note, we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.